Hi and welcome back to my workshop. I'm Tony, and as you know, I'm going to start trying to build another tank. This time it's the M26 Pershing tank from Armortek, another 1:6 scale full metal kit. Now if you're following me, you'd have seen me unbox the entire kit on my previous video. And today, after studying the instructions, I thought I'm going to make a very slow start. So, I mean, I'm going to follow, like I did with the Tiger, I'm going to follow Armortek's recommendations. And they basically start with this rear plate. So this is the rear plate, just basically assembling the tow hook and the exhaust and some other clips and various bits and bobs. So it's quite a nice, easy start for me. So obviously the first thing I'm going to do is, well, I've already done it, is to find the hunt, if you like, start the hunt for all the small fixings and all the various different components, which, you know, understandably takes a bit of time because they're separated into various different bags and what have you, and then sort of the hunt for the fixings. So what I've done, I mean, it's out of camera shot, but hopefully this may help you. I've gone out, so it's basically you've got M2.5 fixings, M3 fixings, M4 fixings, M5 fixings, and various pins of the same kind of gauge. And I've separated them into groups of all the fixings. So all my M3 fixings together, all my 2.5 gauge fixings together, all my M4 fixings. Just helps save a bit of time when you go, rather than just having all in one bag, because these come collectively in one bag. So by separating them out and having, if you've got room on your bench or pots or whatever, separate them out into the categories. Don't on-bag them, leave them in the bags, but just separate the bags into the categories of the different gauges, and that's going to help you. And then I've sort of just gone out and found all the little bits and bobs that I need to start this plate. But before I do that, I'm going to just coat my hands in a bit of my barrier cream, because again, as I've said before, really want to be you know, when you're handling metal components and everything else, this stuff just protects your hands and easily allows you to wipe them or wash them clean at the end of your session, and just make sure you rub them you know, carefully or well in. So I'm looking forward to this. A little bit anxious about this build, but you know, I think if I carry on with my previous build, similar kind of vein, just taking my time and just understanding and studying the instructions, you know, read through the whole, what I'd suggest is you flick through the whole book, and then when you decide where you want to build or start the build, just go through it again and maybe go through 2 or 3 pages so you know what's coming. And actually Armortek this time around have given you some instructions way, you know, over and above what I did for my previous build, giving you some hints about what to consider. You know, don't tighten these fixings up, leave them loose. Be aware that some of these fixings look the same, or some of the parts look the same or similar, but they're not. Study the drawings and take your time. So now I've got my hands fully protected with the barrier cream. I'm going to start getting ready and unpacking this section of the hull. So this is the whole rear plate. This is one of the things I didn't unwrap yesterday, and there it is. Just remove that tape. I mean, it's just, you know, it's a great piece of engineering, like I said yesterday, and just the feel and the quality of this is incredible. Now, all these things need to be degreased and cleaned before they get painted, and I'm going to do it now. I'm not going to wash these things in my degreasing solution, because I'll probably give the whole thing a bath later on down the line. So all I'm going to do now is just using some degreasing wipes, just giving everything a good clean. It just helps when handling it, and ultimately down the line when you come to paint it. Now, I've no idea what I'm going to encounter here, but I've got all my tools ready. I've carefully read the instructions and anticipating what I'm going to need in the way of tools. So I've got my sort of little modelling file. I'm potentially going to have to ream out a few holes. I've got my deburring tool. I've got a long pair of long nose pair of pliers and some cutters, because there's some split pins required in the tow bar assembly. And I've got all my sockets and what have you ready. So that's that. And this is the little exhaust piece. I'll zoom the camera in when I start assembling this. I'll come right in on this so we can see it in close up, but I'm just getting rid of all the sort of the residue from the CNC process. It just makes life a little bit easier. I think if you don't do this as you go, especially on these small components, when it comes to paint it, it becomes tricky to clean. I mean, I know you can get them with small brushes and what have you, but this is probably the best way to do it. Now I've seen I guess, I know you guys follow in Armortek, but I've seen that they've got the new smoke machine, or the upgraded smoke machine, which is brilliant. And I've seen it operate with this M26 on their site, and I mean, it's just so realistic now. I mean, the Tiger's good, but I think now it's completely synced with the sound card, so as you start up you get an extra puff of smoke, and as you accelerate you get more smoke, and so on. So that's really adding to the realism of it. And this is just cleaning up the little tow hook, which is again beautifully detailed. And again, when I zoom the camera in a moment, when we start assembling this, you'll see for yourself. And this is actually cleaning up quite well, and I think it's important that we do this. And I'm not going to do in batches, I'm just going to do it as I go. Otherwise I think it's too daunting. And I know different modelers and different builders do things differently, but a lot of these components, once they're bolted on into place, they'll be fine to paint as an assembly rather than painting them individually. I know that's probably the right way to do it, but I find that very time consuming, and I enjoy seeing the model come together. But I will carefully study elements, so I don't get carried away and then do elements, or build parts of it that I should have painted first, and all the rest of it. So I think I'm going to get the whole, my plan is I'm going to get the whole built and assembled, and then ready for the torsion bar system. And then at that point, before I do the torsion bars, I'll then start the painting, so that the hull's painted and the torsion bar or the suspension arms will be painted. So when I install the torsion bars, I don't have to worry about covering with paint and getting a proper cover on it. So we're almost ready, and I will shortly get that camera reset so we can have a good look at how we're going to build this. And I guess that if you guys are building this, it's daunting, isn't it? When you first open the box, it's just so many fittings and fixtures, and I think somebody said it's like 1,400 components, which, that's a challenge in its own right. I mean, just the packing procedures in Armortek, pretty damn good, aren't they? Really, I'm assuming that, I haven't found anything missing so far, but it's very early days. And I understand a couple of the guys follow me, they've had a couple of issues with that kind of thing. But so far so good for me. So that's pretty much all the aluminium components. I'm just going to give that a wipe over, and while they're drying, I'll reset the camera and we can get building, get started. And it's just I still can't believe I've got this, and so fortunate and so lucky. And if you are continuing to follow me on this build, I really do appreciate that as well. So anyway, I'm going to stop jarbling on, and I'm going to reset the camera, and we can get building. Right, well, if that's how it's going to be all the way through this build, it's going to be a nightmare. That was just awkward because I don't know if you can see that the angle let's have a look. The angle of this makes it really difficult to get your socket onto the little hex bolt. So you have to use, well, I mean, I don't have a miniature set of spanners. I know you can get them, but I'm, you know, I was determined not to do it with that. So I've just used my long nose pliers to tighten them up and get them into position. But, you know, considering that's just the very first part of this build, really frustrating. So the next part would be getting these sort of building the tow hook and all the rest of it. So I'm going to do this in real time with you guys, and hopefully it goes a little bit easier than the previous stage. Right, so I'm just looking at this now and just trying to get my head around the right way to build this. So this is the tow hook as such, or the bracket, or the housing, if you like, for the tow hook. And this goes in here. However, we have a round pin square peg kind of thing going on, or the other way around. So because of the geometry, this is a square cut on here, and this is obviously arched, and I can't get the holes to align. So I'm going to have to either machine off the corners off this. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. I'm not. Yeah, that's it there. I'm going to have to machine these corners round so that it'll fit in the curved housing here. So that was that. So that needs to be done. Then we have these, which I guess are either crane lift markers, or yeah, they're probably the crane lift points. And I just wanted to make sure that they all fit where they're supposed to, and they are pretty smart. They go into these, well, here we go. They fit nicely. This one, however, doesn't. And when you compare them, again, really difficult to see this on the camera, but there is a difference in the thickness. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. Probably not. Let me see. I can get you to see it. Probably not. But anyway, there's a difference of about 1 millimeter. And that's why that is not going in there. Then we have the tow hook here. That fits perfectly. Now, I would recommend you make sure that you always try to test fit these together to make sure that there's no machining required. And then there's 2 pins that go in here. There's I think it's a 4mm pin and a 3mm pin. Now, they do say on the instructions, it says if you intend to use this for towing, which I'm not, then don't Loctite the pins in. If you are not going to intend to, just make sure you Loctite them in so they don't work themselves out. Now, I don't know the pins are going to fit in this easily or not, but what I'll do is I'll just get my deburring tool out and do a little bit of work on the holes to make sure that the pins fit in. But before we can do any of that, as I said, I need to do a little bit of work on filing down. And I think I'm probably just going to machine that down, put it in my vise and machine it down with my, well, I won't do it, I'll just do it with a file, I think, a hand file. That should do it, just enough to get through there, and also to remove the sharp corners of that. So I'll do that and I'll be straight back. So wipe all that excess off. And then that is that. That is the very first part of the build. And I guess reasonably straightforward. You know, a few little things, but you know, nothing major. Yeah, nothing major. But anyway, that's the first part of the build complete, and I'm pleased with that. So I'll go on now and have a look at the lower deck, and we'll see how we go on with that. Right, so I've unpacked the lower deck, and a point of note, I think, just to be mindful of that. Obviously, when you get this is all protected in the white protective sort of polystyrene sheet that they give you. But this leg down here is very narrow. If you're not careful and you drop this, you could bend that, and it's only aluminium, so it will bend quite easily, and possibly even this one here. I guess once the double bogies are installed in it, it'll be stronger. But just while you're unpacking this, and you know, thanks to Ray, you gave me a heads up when you unpacked yours, so I was very conscious of looking at this when I unpacked this. So just, you know, when you get this, cut the, don't pull the polystyrene protection off. Cut it and remove it carefully, so then you don't damage that. So that's that. Then I've cleaned these two, or degreased these two double bogies here. But I can see, I mean, obviously there's a right way and a wrong way to put these in, and it's quite clear on the instructions, but I can already see when I offer this up, again, it just doesn't fit, and I don't want to force it. So I'm going to have to do some work cleaning up these edges here and here, possibly on here as well. I'm more reluctant to do it on there. I'd sort of much rather to do a bit of work on here, so these slot in nice and straightforward. And then you've just got to fix them through with these sort of M3 cap fixings, a ton of these. And then these, I guess these are metal or steel gaskets that fit over the top of the double bogie like that. Now it does say quite clearly Loctite them into position, but it says you can be left off at this stage if you're concerned about knocking them off, but I can't see why you would really. So as long I'll clean these up. So obviously when we're using metal and using super glue, I'm just using regular super glue, no problem with that at all, as long as you clean all the metal up first, so there's no debris, you get a good bond with that. So what I'm going to do now is off camera, I'm just going to sort of work these edges, these inside edges here. I don't know if you can see that, both sides of that, and then so I can get these to slot in to the deck without forcing it. So I'll do that and I'll be straight back. Okay, so that's them all cleaned up, and I've just tested them and they fit onto the deck perfectly now. Just needed to clean these edges up with my file. Just grabbed it in my vise and just cleaned both sides of those up with my file. Very easy to do. This is an aluminium piece. Again, just holding these amazing pieces in my hand, and just feels such good quality. Anyway, so part of the assembly of these bogies, there are these little fixings here which they tell you to, there's two of them for this double bogie, and they're just fixed on with some 8mm countersunk M3 fixings. So I'm just going to pop those there. A little bit of thread locker on that. Get the right driver or Allen key, and that sends that home. And that one. I'm just going to align these so they look. So I'll align them so that they're both the same. I mean, you won't really see this once you've got everything on, the suspension arms and the track and everything else, but I guess it's all part of the scale detailing. Again, I don't know what function they've got, but that's them here. Very simple to fix on. And just two more. 8mm fixing. Actually, this time I'm going to just, no, I won't. That's the thread locker in. Tighten those up. Hold on to that so I can get that roughly aligned in the same position. So that's that. Then they ask you to Loctite or super glue on these two gaskets. This is a double one for the double bogie, obviously. And I've tried fitting them, and they're a little bit tight. They are a little bit tight, but I think they'll go on with a little bit of encouragement with a rubber mallet. So before I do that, I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue, and I'm just going to go around the edges of this piece here. Just use the nozzle to spread that around. I don't know why I'm really super nervous about this part of the build, but it's only because I've never done anything like this before. This is so different to the Tiger. I'm going to pop that on there like that. See if I can push it on into place. Yeah, it's gone in quite nicely. Just a little bit, I think I will just and that's in place now, and hopefully that super glue will hold it in place. So that's that one. Do exactly the same on this one. I mean, they're tight fit, but I guess they would come off, hence the reason for the super glue. Again, just use the bench to push that down. Again, just sorry about the noise. That's in as well. So that's them. Now all that remains to do is to fix these onto the main deck, which I'll sort that out. Now I'm just looking at this and trying to work out if there's a left and a right, and they're pretty much identical. There doesn't seem to be handed at all. I mean, if you put them that way, if you look at them that way, they seem to be identical. However, on the instructions, this one here on the left hand being the left hand side being my left, this goes into that position. Whoops, let me get that into camera. That goes on that side, like so. So I guess as long as it looks as if it's shown in the instructions, and it does, I'm just double checking, I think we'll be all right. So that's as far as I'm going to go today. So really the only thing we've done today is this rear plate, assemble all this, the tow hook and the crane lift points and the exhaust, and we've unpacked the main deck and installed the first, or the double bogies. So I mean, again, I think this is just, you know, a nice easy start to this build. I've got a long way to go, and I didn't want to, you know, I'm not trying to knock it out of the park. I just want to build it slowly and methodically, following the instructions. So the next part, the next session we do, I will be finishing off these bogies, and we're going to go on to installing the sort of the main hull. Now I understand that the reason why they ask you to assemble this first is because once this plate, for instance, is installed on the end of this, it's going to be very difficult to access these fixings along here once the whole sides are built up. So yeah, so I actually get it, and I really like the fact that you know, that Armortek are giving you extra instructions, more so than they did on the Tiger. So for this session, this is as far as I'm going to go. I just want to say thank you again for following me, and if you've enjoyed this, give us a thumbs up. If you just joined recently, I hope you subscribe. We've got a long way to go on this M26 build. And again, it's me, Tony, trying to build another tank, and I'll see you really soon. Thank you.